United States says neither they nor Ukraine is involved in the terrible tragedy in Moscow where gunmen opened fire in a city hall and killed 144 innocent civilians. For good effect, a terrorist group, Islamic State Khorasan, claims the responsibility for the tragedy, yet a few things are not adding up. Or is it an attempt to rouse Russia to rain hell on Kiev and, if possible, eliminate Vladimir Zelensky so as there is an excuse for the United States to wash its hands of Ukraine for good? Welcome to yet another edition of Wiseheads. This is your host, Ashish Shukla. You all know this already, but let me give a brief of this incident nevertheless. A terrorist attack in Moscow kills 144 innocent people. Four of the terrorists fleeing towards Ukrainian borders are caught. They all belong to Tajikistan. Islamic State Khorasan claims responsibility for the tragedy. Before fingers start pointing at Ukraine, the United States says the Kiev regime is not involved in this terrorist attack. Washington also says that it had given a warning to Russia beforehand of an imminent attack in Moscow. What does one make of these two claims of the United States? First, the claim that Ukraine is not involved. Even as Moscow police was figuring out who were the terrorists, what weapons they had used, if some hostages were taken, the United States seems in double the hurry to absolve Ukraine of the terrorist attack. Secondly, it's not true that Washington gave a warning to Moscow of an imminent attack. All the United States Embassy did was to caution its citizens from attending any public event in Moscow due to an imminent threat. Now, this public warning can't be deemed as intelligence sharing with Moscow. Or, in other words, the United States knew what was coming but kept it to itself. And if this is true, it is abetting terrorism, if not orchestrating it. It has been made to look worse since the US President Joe Biden hasn't extended personal grief to his counterpart in Russia, Vladimir Putin. This is same Biden who had hosted the widow of Navalny, an opponent of Putin, after he had died out of a heart attack. The trouble is, the United States has a history of abetting terrorism. They used terrorists to throw off a Soviet Union-friendly government in Kabul in late 1970s. They used terrorists in an attempt to get rid of Bashar Assad's regime in Syria. Further, the credibility of their claims runs hollow. At the turn of the century, they claimed that Iraq's Saddam Hussein possessed weapons of mass destruction. They made the claim on the hollow turf of United Nations. As it turned out, Hussein had no weapons of mass destruction. But the resultant attack by the United States destroyed Iraq and brought tragedy on millions of people. Some experts say this attack has been engineered so as Vladimir Putin is forced by his citizens to seek retribution. What better if this retribution takes out Vladimir Zelensky's regime in Kiev? If that happens, the United States would have an excuse to pull out of Ukraine war. It propped up Ukraine in the hope that it would cripple Russia. Now that this agenda has completely misfired, the US sees no reason to continue burning its finger in this fire. Ukraine has run out of men, money, and materials, and the United States is dawdling in replenishing it. If Russia does its dirty work by eliminating Zelensky, it would just throw up its hand and move on. The terrorist attack in Moscow could thus be a provocation for a bigger geopolitical agenda. Russia indeed has intensified its attack on Ukraine since the tragedy. It's taking out energy and hydroelectric plants in Ukraine. Ukraine is even involving India to seek peace now that it is pinned to the corner. Yet the truth is, this Ukraine war could only stop on Russia's terms. They are winning, and as we know, winners always dictate terms on losers. That's all in today's edition of Wiseheads. This is your host, Ashish Shukla, who now takes your leave. We meet soon with another burning geopolitical issue of the day. Till then, goodbye and good luck.